So the legal analysis, I think, has been substandard, but that hasn't stopped everyone from basically following legal mindsets brain dead videos.
And the worst thing about that as well is every time that legal mindset says this is likely against criminal law, this is likely illegal, has he ever been correct? And the worst thing about that as well is every time that legal mindset says this is likely against criminal law, this is likely illegal, has he ever been correct? What I wanted to get to was here we are. Okay, so if you've watched the stream before, if you've watched me during when I'm going over, I guess, lawsuit coverage or something like that, I've often spoken about my vociferous hate for, that's right, lollyboy mindset, ladyboy mindset. Okay? Spoken about him several times, saying even amongst lawtubers, okay? Even amongst lawtubers, this guy gives consistently the worst takes. Total non-engagement with any of the subject matter. Total, like, obfuscation. Irrelevant legal details. Never even, like, just obviously wrong in a lot of cases. Just obviously wrong. Covered his video the other day about the case with Reddit right now, where he's believing that somebody on a snark subreddit is actually employed by Reddit because, well, because they joked about working for Reddit in the same text conversation. In the same text conversation that they joked about being bad empanada. So, legal mindset now believes that bad empanada is not only a mod, okay? Not only a mod for the snark subreddit, is also getting tools to aid with spoliation of evidence, when actually it's just to remove personal details. And also this person is getting paid by Reddit, they're an employee, right? They're an employee. So, yeah. Can't talk shit, I was wrong last time I did. Exactly. Everyone hates legal mindset. Even the MAGA guy in my chat hates legal mindset, okay? Anyway, what I did see the other day that got me particularly interested in talking about it again was, well, yeah, not friend of the stream, but like Pisco spoke about it. Pisco is like, I think generally from when I've seen him on live streams, when I've seen him talking on stuff, it's rough to even
where
compare
the names
him.
are to be discovered later on.
It's rough to even compare him to like the rest of LawTube because he's just not. He will talk through stuff. He has a live stream. He'll consider himself insanely well educated. I think, from what I've heard, very, very good law school. Very, very good law school. I think still operates in the United States. He's had like several years of experience in law. Yeah, I don't like him. He's good, okay? He's good. He's one of the few guys that I will respect. And he talks through stuff, right? He talks through stuff all the time. Quotes citations, quotes case law. He is exactly what I want. Exactly what I want in a law tuber. Anything else is insufficient. Anything else is legal mindset. But anyway, I saw this pop through my feed the other day. I want to talk about it.
Some months ago, Ethan Klein, popular entrepreneur, released...
Wait, rule 1, don't talk about the Discord. Rule 2, don't talk about the Discord. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean.
A content nuke on Hasan Piker. What this is a commentary on the state of LawTube and popular legal commentators on this, our internet. Okay? And you might be wondering also why Asmongold is appearing on the bottom left there. All of this will be explained in time, dear viewer.
Because it blows wide open this case.
So it blows wide open this case. This case, remember, is a simple copyright infringement case.
The damages are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially millions.
Potentially millions of dollars?
Okay. How are you starting a legal mindset segment without watching Go East? Send me something. Send me something.
So that's the first insane take.
Here's the thing that blows this case wide open and can lead to the
absolute destruction of Reddit.
This could be enough to tear Reddit down.
I don't know if it's gonna get. I obviously I think this may be a little bit hyperbolic, but
When Asmongold is having to rein you in, bro, on every level, it's...
By the way, if you guys don't know, Nicandros has been trying to find some of the stuff on Legal Mindset, trying to look through some of the transcripts, trying to download some clips, some lost media, in fact. There are thousands of videos, well, thousands of videos. There are literally thousands of minutes of content. There are thousands of minutes of content that have just disappeared from Legal Mindset's channel. Go East. You can't find it anymore. Presumably, possibly, after Alex Noel started looking into it, it all kind of disappeared. Or a lot of it started to disappear. Anyway.
Cringe. On the level of the damages are millions of dollars, it's cringe. On the level of assuming the damages are that much, it would destroy and collapse Reddit, it's cringe. On the level of, well, the doctrine of vicarious liability and negligent hiring is cringe. Why? Because Reddit's not a defendant. On the level of proposing to amend the complaint to include Reddit as a defendant, cringe. And on the level of, maybe this is just a joke because the guy's a memer and a troll and member of a snark subreddit. Hey folks, please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to check out my newsletter. Information is in the description. All right, we're here for one purpose and one purpose only. The purpose of this video is to go over a recent set of legal videos, LawTube videos, about the Ethan Klein lawsuit. And it's meant more to demonstrate stuff about the LawTube community here on YouTube and the fact that it's in shambles, at least the popular LawTubers, than it is meant to elucidate information about the lawsuit itself. And you'll...
Yes. Oh my god. Okay. Even Nate likes Pisco. Even Nate likes Pisco. He's a libtard. He supports the Dems. What race is Pisco? It's ambiguous and we love him for it, okay? Probably some brand of Latino. I don't quite know the mix. I'll be honest. I don't quite know. But, okay. Pisco is good. Pisco is good. And I'm glad that he's finally talking about the rest of LawTube. Somebody has had to. There used to be drama within LawTube, or at least like within certain cliques of like LawTube streamers who would do content talking about the law. There'd be debates, there'd be arguments, there'd be something there. It seems as though a lot of that has gone away, and except for very, very small LawTube streamers, it doesn't seem as though there's much debate or there's much interaction. It's very, very weird, very odd. But I'm glad that Pisco's weighing in. Hopefully, it would be my dream, okay? I'm hoping for this for Christmas, okay? It's a couple months away, you know? I've still got time to add it to my wish list. I wish that Pisco would actually get into debate with some of these people. It would be golden.
See why, but it's worth repeating once again what the lawsuit is about that I'm analyzing. And you might be wondering also why Asmongold is appearing on the bottom left there. All of this will be explained in time, dear viewer. But just know that what this is a commentary on the state of LawTube and popular legal...
Can somebody let Elizabeth Jones know that if she's having a stroke, she should call 999 in the UK, and she should also, like, you know, get to what's happening right now on stream? I think she's like an hour behind.
Commentators on this, our internet. Okay? So, to bring you back to the lawsuit, some months ago, Ethan Klein, popular host and entrepreneur associated with H3 Productions, released a content nuke on Hasan Piker, basically detailing a bunch of negative stuff and history of controversial comments, positions, etc. by Hasan Piker. And he did so with the intention to try to bait some other individuals, this is his story by the way, into reacting to that video, the content nuke, and doing so in a fashion that was copyright infringement that furthermore was unprotected by the doctrine of fair use.
It was in this setting that I formulated an idea. What if I could make a long-form, irresistible piece of content that I knew that these streamers couldn't resist, they couldn't avoid the temptation of watching it the second it was published.
I don't have an issue with them.
It's not that I wanted these people to steal my video. It's that I knew they would. I knew they would watch the entire video, add little to no commentary, react to it instantly, giving them no time to form an opinion. The trap was set, and it worked even better than I imagined it would.
That is how Ethan Klein presented the story. He
Yeah, and if you guys haven't been following Pisco, if you don't know who Pisco is, he's got into a lot of drama recently. Used to be like a Destiny orbiter, used to be a Destiny guy, doesn't really talk about Destiny much anymore, and has had a little bit of like internal strife in his community about whether he is still associated with Destiny or not, but publicly burned the bridge, publicly walked away a few months ago. In fact, I don't know if people remember this, Destiny was creating like a media company in New York. And the reason why he was starting it in New York is because that's where Pisco is. Pisco was there to be like a correspondent for Destiny's media company. And partially, it seems like, from the outside, a big reason why that fell through was because other people didn't want to associate with Destiny and didn't want to work with him for it. So he'd invested thousands of dollars into getting this all started and all fell through. Partially, it seems like a reason for that, if not a big reason, was that Pisco pulled out, right?
Released a video in conjunction where he states out these purposes in.
But, yeah, going on from that, a big problem that he's had, since so many of his viewers are from DGG, and because he has like an association with Destiny, is that the lawsuits against Denims, Frogan, Katie'Tron, coming from Ethan Klein, obviously seen some huge support from DGG, seen huge support from Destiny, huge support from Dan, up until including the point where I believe Pisco has gotten, like, threatened over some of the takes he's been giving. He's been shit-talked by Ethan Klein. He's been shit-talked by Destiny. Shit-talked by Dan. And when I say threats, I mean threats from creators, right? Threats from creators. Anyway. And that's kind of how he's made his name since he started streaming how long ago? About a year ago, it seems like. He started doing streams regularly. Yeah.
The lawsuit, which include going after a set of creators who he viewed as highly negative towards him and engaged in some kind of bad faith harassment campaign against him, or either contributing to that atmosphere or being directly involved to some capacity. He also included what I thought, this is now me injecting my commentary into it, a bunch of implausible motivations for why he was suing. One of which included the notion that suing the specific content creators at issue, which included Denims, Katie'Tron, and Frogan, as well as additional parties here of like some unnamed Reddit mods or some where the names were to be discovered later on, which is okay. It's allowed to do that. He basically suggested these lawsuits against these three creators plus the Reddit mods was done also to protect the React community.
Even though theoretically I could sue a lot more creators and rake in millions of dollars, but the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched the entire thing, but I would never sue them just for doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite. I hope that we can all unite against.
Dude, it's actually obscene looking back at it. If you look at all these other people's responses, how long is that?
Even though theoretically
Destiny got it like 2 hours and 47. Lonabox 3 hours and 23, or 3 hours and 39.
I could sue a lot.
Asmongold 3 hours
more
42. Papa got 3
and
hours long. And this is a guy who doesn't really give too much commentary. He plays Dark Souls and he occasionally throws in a joke. Not really that much meat
dollars. But the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched.
Dude, XQC 2 hours and 30 minutes. 2 hours and 30 minutes. How long was Denim's reaction? I'm pretty sure it was longer than Asmongold's. No? So much more content came from it. If you want to try and argue that it wasn't transformative, you are just wrong. You are just wrong. I don't know if there's much else to say about it. If you just point to the amount of internet drama that came from Denim's reactions and the things she said in it, it's just the most obvious on-the-face proof that it did add additional content which transformed the content. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. I don't like those people, so I support it. Hope it doesn't fuck me, Nicholas Durio. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think the most charity you can give Durio over his comments about the H3 lawsuit is that Durio has kind of cheered it on with the expectation that Ethan is going to settle at some point, that it's actually not going to hit the court. It's not going to make a precedent. It's not going to change anything about how the YouTube landscape works. Now, that's been proven wrong. People are starting to sue a lot more. And apparently, we saw, was it just yesterday? Yeah, just yesterday, that Moist Critical, Charlie, is saying that there's starting to be more and more law firms approaching creators, selling copyright lawsuits as like a money-making exercise. Instead of using DMCA, creators are being told, you can go ahead and just sue people who you disagree with. Boom. Nice. Cool. Or you can sue people who use your content that you disagree with. Or you can sue anyone who just uses your content. Easy way to make money. Easy way to make money. Denim's of 3 hours, 55 minutes. Yep. The original was 1 hour and 40... The original was 1 hour and 42. Denim's reaction was almost 4 hours long. Okay. Great stuff. Fucking hell. But yeah, I think Duro's has been proven wrong. Not only on the fact that it has changed the landscape, right? It has changed the landscape. It's become normalized that you can just, like, ignore DMCA altogether and just go straight to a lawsuit. Even when Ethan Klein got into legal hot water with, was it Matt Hoss? I don't believe that was initially over a lawsuit, right? Not straight away. Not straight away. I'm pretty sure that it started through a DMCA strike on YouTube. That's how it started. I believe that's how it started. Anyway, Ethan didn't give these people that charity, and it seems as though there's a trend that this charity is just gone, and people aren't expected to use the DMCA. Just suing people outright is like an acceptable route now. It's absolutely fucking retarded. Also, yeah, Diorio's wrong because Ethan has said, like, pretty quickly afterwards that no, he does not intend to sue. He intends to take these people all the way to court, and he will laugh to the bank, ruining them financially.
The entire thing, but I would never sue them just for doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite. I hope that we can all unite against this type of egregious behavior that not only makes us all look bad, but could destroy the commentary community as we know it. This is not a healthy environment, and with people like Hasan reacting to entire TV shows on stream, my fear is that Sony or Disney comes along, sues everybody, and sets a devastating precedent that could endanger our entire field.
And I've made several videos, had several debates about why that is an implausible motive, that it doesn't make...
Did Diorio cover the Charlie lawsuit? I don't know. Did Ethan talk about it yet? I'm not sure.
Makes sense as a motive, that he would be launching these lawsuits with the expectation that it would protect the React community against lawsuits from Disney and from Sony, which this is a specific reference that he puts in his video. And a theme throughout the video is that this is done basically to enforce a standard on the React community. Incidentally, he did not sue other creators who pretty blatantly violated Ethan Klein's copyright by doing reactions that have basically no additional transformative nature to them, that are using the work in their entirety and fail on all of the factors of the fair use analysis test. The argument but why these creators were different had to do with, well, they stated a malicious intent. And in my previous videos, I've discussed why this is not a convincing argument, in that the factor of transformative content or purpose and character of the work does not turn on subjective intent, that the Supreme Court has pushed against that interpretation of the fair use factors, that it turns on subjective intent, that the preferred doctrine is not this kind of good faith, bad faith assessment, and that the other factors are also, for example, market substitute factor relates to the actual market substitute and not to the intent to be a market substitute. But that at least was what H3 was trying to sell to his audience. And that's where I got involved initially, is by commenting and saying, hey, I think these are pretty strong cases of infringement, but ultimately I don't buy the narrative that this is done to protect the React community for the reasons stated. And I think that the legal filings by H3's lawyers and their TED Entertainment in the lawsuit, that's the party name, that the filings by these attorneys were unhinged. That was my...
The filings were slightly unhinged. They're obviously made to, like, create content for Ethan as well, and for other people to, like, go over, right? Probably in order to try and get the community on side, right? Give them a little bit of a, throw them a little bit of a bone to the, especially to the H3 orbiters, I guess. But yeah, I think I had about the same case as Pisco, especially if you take the worst example, which is Casey Tron. People have access to the Casey Tron VOD. People seemingly have access to the Denims VOD. The Frogan one got immediately deleted, I believe. I haven't seen many people talk about it. There hasn't been much discourse that's prompted on from that. Partially because Frogan is like a really, really small streamer that basically nobody watches. So who the fuck cares what Frogan's got to say about it? Who even knows who Frogan is? Casey Tron, while she is annoying and a stoner and makes like gutter tier content, has been around for like close to a decade. She's been around for a very, very long time in the streamer space. She's very widely known. Even more widely hated, some could say. But yeah, Frogan deleting evidence, that's a retarded narrative. No. Frogan is not deleting evidence by deleting her YouTube, her Twitch VOD. It could absolutely be the case that, well, for one, they would obviously have them downloaded. Two, you have to make it available to the core. You can't just like delete evidence and then provide it, right? So yeah, it's not deleting evidence though. You just have to have a copy that you can hand over. Yeah. Also, if you're going to be sued for copyright infringement, keeping up the VOD in which you are publishing your copyright infringing content, probably not the best idea, right? Probably not the best idea. But a lot of people ran with the narrative that she was deleting evidence. It's just not borne out.
My take, and it received a great deal of pushback, even though what I said was...
But what I was saying. So, if you take a look, especially at Casey Tron, nobody really knows about Frogan, or at least I haven't been able to find her original reaction. But Casey Tron probably is the worst example if you want to defend this on the legal basis. I just can't really see how Casey Tron could even be said to transform it, unless it's like a totally kind of out of left field legal argument that streaming transforms it just by the nature of streaming it, by having your reaction in the corner, by having some additional commentary, by having a chat box, by having screen features, by having that kind of stuff. And it's just like a completely out of left field legal argument that I wouldn't be able to think of, right? Except for that, I've got no clue how you could defend the Casey Tron video.
I think quite.
But even so, it's just awful for the environment.
Clearly true. The reason I bring this up is because it seemed like the lawyers who were commenting on this case, to a man, were pretty, I think, uncalibrated in terms of their legal analysis. Had more to do with, I guess, their vibes and generalities that they're taking from other doctrines of law that don't apply. One person in particular that I think had horrible analysis was this guy Legal Mindset, who many people were pushing around as this is someone who we should look to for a lot of insights into what's going on in the Ethan Klein case.
You should look? You should look? You should look? Okay. Nicandros sent me this about 10 minutes ago. He finally managed to find a couple of the videos that Legal Mindset had tried to delete from his channel. Interesting. And so he sent this over to me. Hold on. Dating Asian women, debunking the top myths and stereotypes. And then his objections to nomad capitalism. Wait, okay. Well, okay. Nicandros did send me that as well. Not directly relevant to this discussion, but just clicking through links that Nicandros had sent me. Ooh. Okay, we're gonna do that as the goal content. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Gonna set a super chat goal. Gonna have that as the goal content. Probably gonna go through those lost videos. See what's there, see what's happening. All right, there we are, dude. Okay, there we are. There we are. Move east, gentlemen. Look east. Okay, nice.
When we actually take a look at what he was talking about in his videos analyzing this case, he's citing no precedent as he was running through the answer that Denims gave. This is a filing in response to the initial on this area, for example, on the doctrine of implied consent or the doctrine of forfeiture and abandonment. It didn't seem that he was quite
we're looking back
so familiar with those doctrines. So the legal analysis, I think, has been substandard, but that hasn't stopped everyone from basically following legal mindsets, brain dead videos, which are totally infected by, as my viewer says right here, Faith Adams, political bias, etc., where he's letting his feelings about Hasan Piker get involved in his outcome here and what he's determining. As an added example of this bias, he said that Hasan Piker probably violated criminal laws by stating things about Rick Scott, where he was making this point about if you wanted to kill people who were affecting Medicaid or something, you would go after Rick Scott, which is clearly protected speech, which isn't covered by any of these doctrines.
And the worst thing about that as well is every time that legal mindset says this is likely against criminal law, this is likely illegal. Has he ever been correct? Has legal mindset ever noticed something and picked something out? Nobody else has spotted it, and he's been like dead on the money. I don't think he ever has, because he just says shit. That's the thing, he just says shit. So this might be relevant under okay, cool. It might be relevant under criminal law. Would this ever be enacted upon? Can you find another example of this? Like, ever? Or did you just sell it out? Like, it's not that it's infected with political bias. Pisco's wrong about this. He's incorrect. He doesn't get it. He doesn't see the vision, okay? It's not that it's infected with political bias. That's not an incident, or that's not a downside of legal mindset's content. That is the selling point. That is what gets people in the door. That is what gets people interested. That is what gets him retweets on Twitter. That's what gets Ethan Klein supporting his content, shouting him out. That's what gets Ethan Klein shit-talking Pisco and shouting out legal mindset. Asmongold beefing him up. Tectone beefing him up. Other commentators beefing him up. That is the purpose of why people go to legal mindset. Because they can say, look, this guy's a lawyer. Look at all this shit. Retarded. And it's the most gutter tier content. It's the most gutter tier legal content. If you are actually interested in the law even, right? I am actually a fan of LawTube. I like LawTubers. I find it interesting, right? I find a lot of legal cases interesting. I'm fine to go through and like read like court papers on stream. I'm happy to. It's gutter tier content and it bores a lot of people, but I'd be happy to do it more often because I'm just interested in it. Even on that basis, legal mindset just fails it. It's not interesting legal content. It's interesting drama content. If you wanted to be a drama commentator, he's the drama commentator and he's got a legal background. He's got, he's got a JD. He's got like practice, like a license to practice in the United States. But he doesn't practice in the United States. Technically, he's passed the tort. He's passed the bar. He is a US attorney. He's a US lawyer. Technically. Where does he practice? In Korea. And it's not a recent change. That has been where he has been practicing. Anyway.
As well as other instances potentially of alleged violent rhetoric.
In regards to that, Hasan actually told his audience to go out.
What's with all these non-practicing lawyers? I mean, that's the part that I don't really get as well. LawTube is a blossoming, vitalized, like energetic community. There are shit tons of people online with legal degrees who have passed the Bar Association, who are there to give their legal take, and everyone listens to them. Have you not got better stuff to do? You're a lawyer. You're a lawyer. Why are you wasting your time doing live streams, trying to make a go at being a content creator? You're a lawyer. You're a lawyer. Anyway, if you're spending this much time making content as well as being a lawyer, one of them has got to suffer. One of them has got to suffer. And unfortunately, a lawyer's opinion without research is slightly useless, right? Slightly useless. Lawyers are good because they're experts in the law. Lawyers are good because they can, like, navigate jurisprudence. They can read court documents and understand them. They can understand the concepts at heart. If they're not doing research before they're speaking about it, what's the point?
After at least one U.S. senator a few months, Rick Scott. Yeah, and that, once again, he's very lucky. He's been very lucky with a lot of these things. And then last, the true threat. A true threat is a true call for violence, which, by the way, a lot of what Hasan has said, like when Hasan said, delete them, spill their guts in the street, right? That's pretty much a true threat. He's saying it's hyperbolic, but that's damn close to a true threat. It's definitely incitement. Without a doubt, this is incitement. But is it a true? It's pretty damn close. With the Rick Scott thing, that was really close too.
Again, if you're trying to be a lawyer full time and trying to be a content creator at the same time, something has got to suffer. Case in point, dude. It's not even what Hasan said. He didn't say let their guts spill in the street. That doesn't even make sense. It's, what is it? Let the streets run with their red capitalist blood. Just quoting. Disavow. 100% disavow. Let the streets run with their red capitalist blood. Saying it to a landlord as a joke. It's his friend anyway. True incitement. Jesus Christ.
To a true threat. So that's impermissible speech. Once again,
which are clearly encompassed and protected by free speech. He wasn't citing any precedent to show that what Hasan Piker's statements were criminal in nature or that they were covered by some exception to the First Amendment. It was shabby analysis all the way down. That said, I'm someone who's fair and balanced, and so whenever there's a new development, I'm going to take a look at the law tubers, what they're saying about this new development, and give it an honest go and see what I think about it. But recently there was this development for the case against the Reddit mods. The Reddit mods were named parties in this lawsuit, the series of lawsuits, and there's essentially some dispute as to like what the employer of these mods are. There's an allegation that one of them is employed by Reddit, and the way the legal community, or I should say some specific LawTube commentators have responded is by giving some of the most insane, unhinged, delusional takes on this and other aspects of the case, acting as though this is some bombshell that is going to threaten the very existence of Reddit. I'm not joking. So I've already seen the legal mindset video, lawful mindset, legal mindset, whatever. And so I figured might as well, so I can get some enjoyment out of this, watch the reaction that Asmongold is giving to a legal mindset video so that I can have some fun, some new content. But in watching this reaction of Asmongold, we'll get through the entirety of the legal mindset video with me offering commentary in between to show really how unhinged this guy is and how insane his assessments really are. And I will...
Okay, so you're probably wondering, Dickers, isn't this awful content? You're reacting to a react of an original video? This might be dog shit content, okay? But we love Pisco here. We love Pisco here, okay? And during the runtime, I'd like skip through it. Pisco offers like a good amount of commentary in order to speak about. So highly transformative react that I will give a semi-transformative react to. Okay, sue me in England, bitch.
We'll start by saying that Asmongold,
he's principally against it. In fact, actually, he wouldn't. He wouldn't, dude. Oh, this guy would absolutely be giga-cucked by his fucking principles. I ain't never seen a legal notice from this guy. I ain't never hearing from this guy in court.
Titled his reaction video, Reddit broke the law. That is what Asmongold titled his video. He's accusing Reddit of breaking the law. So note if you see in this video any evidence of that, of Reddit having broken the law. For him to say definitively, Reddit broke the law. Lay persons like Asmongold, legally cooked means they're done. Reddit is done. They're totally guilty of something. They totally broke the law about something. So that is the title of the video. And you could say, oh, it's clickbait. Oh, it's clickbait. I mean, you're accusing them of breaking the law, and that's how people are understanding it. And so let's actually see Asmongold's reaction and what Asmongold is interpreting, and also in the process, watching what legal mindset has to say about the recent disclosures, again, about the Reddit mods who are also parties to the lawsuits. And before, again, I want to stress, so important, that this is a copyright infringement case. This is a simple copyright infringement case. There's an additional theory of liability of the Reddit mods. That's maybe a little bit more complicated in the sense that they're like actively encouraging.
I mean, he's just talking about the details of the case that, you know, obviously, hopefully, we all know this, but it's just a little bit of boring lawyerly clarification. But I will say, okay, as my transformative reaction commentary for this part, what is going on with that? What is going on with that mustache? What is going on with the mustache? I don't. Okay. I would say the mustache is bad enough on its own. The Victorian sideburns as well. I don't know what's going on with that. Does Pisco usually wear like a beard? Is that... Yeah. 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 I feel like he looks good with a beard. The beard looks fine. The beard looks fab. Maybe he could do a little bit of like trimming, a little bit of shaping, right? Maybe. What is this? Okay.
Copyright infringement.
Let's move on.
But this is an infringement case. I want you
That should be it for transformative reaction.
to know that. It's an infringement case. And we'll watch. I have not seen Asmongold's reaction. I'm sure this will be entertaining for me. I have seen the legal mindset video. Let's go.
One of the snark mods for the Ethan Klein lawsuit said that they worked at Reddit. Oh, man.
Oh,
That's
man.
a bad one, huh?
Reddit is absolutely legally cooked. We're going to get into a bombshell leak that will change everything today on the legal mindset.
Yeah, if this
we
is
teach
true-
you to be your own judge.
I'm going to be shocked.
I can't tell if this is like he's hamming it up. Maybe he is.
All right, so we've been going through the case of Ethan Klein versus
I do find it hard to tell, actually, with Asmongold. If he is hamming it up sometimes, or if it is like his honest opinion. I feel like with just how hard Asmongold has pivoted into stuff, especially after his comments about Palestinians going viral, and now we're, what, a year on? A year on from those comments? Maybe a little bit more. And despite having apologized for being so insensitive and saying that he's going to be, what, more measured going forward, or, you know, hold himself, basically apologizing for saying that Palestinians deserve genocide because of Sharia law. He's walked that back. That was an oopsie daisy. He didn't mean to say that. Okay, he's reformed. He's moving on. By going even harder into like hard right politics, saying that the vast majority of people in America don't deserve to vote. Like 90%, 85%, something like that, deserve to be de-suffraged. Deserve to have like suffrage taken from them. So weird. So weird. And I just cannot believe this is an organic political shift. The exact same thing is happening to Nux Taku at the exact same time. The exact same thing is happening to Tectone at the exact same time. And however many other creators, a Cheeto in the chat earlier, of course. How many other creators is happening to at the exact same time? And we're supposed to believe that they're all authentic? No.
the orbiters of Hasan, including
Yes.
the Reddit mods. And in that, we've been looking at what's going on with them and also their legal liability.
Of
And we
course.
now have a
Of course. This is how he reacts to videos.
leak, something that was brought to my attention and something that, as far as I know, nobody else may know about this, although Ethan Klein will soon be very, very, very
I bet he
aware
will.
of this. And I'm sure his lawyers are going to be very, very interested in this because it blows wide open this case.
So it blows wide open this case. This case, remember, is a simple copyright infringement case. A copyright infringement case. That is the theory of liability here. So he's saying this blows open the case. All right? So just keep that in mind.
Again, Ethan Klein suing for copyright infringement, and he has massive power behind that lawsuit because the damages are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars,
a lot of
potentially
money.
millions.
Potentially millions of dollars? So that's the first insane take that one could give. That who in their right mind thinks that the infringement that is allegedly committed by Denim's et al., Denim's Frogren Caseytron, is worth millions of dollars? Are you insane? How possibly could you factor in damages of that amount? Even if they like contributed, let's say the loss of viewership of 5 million, right? Let's say 5 million less people watched the content nuke. If we're talking about actual damage, like, and if we're talking about statutory damages, it doesn't reach that amount either. So where are you getting this millions of dollars that they?
I'm trying to think. It could be if he's talking about like with punitive and addition, but I'm trying to think. The Library of Congress. What's the statutory damages that is offered by lodging it with the Library of Congress? Is it something like $30,000? $30,000, something like that. Then on top, let's say for like each of them, let's go with like a highball figure, right? Let's say it's 20,000. Ethan is able to prove definitively they stole $20,000 from in terms of views. This is outlandishly big, by the way, but let's just say. So you've got 50k there. Okay, we're 5% of the way. We're 5% of the way. We're 5%. Okay, yeah. How would you get punitive damages to make it up to a million? Okay, he's pulling out of his arse. He's pulling out of his arse just so we can have like the big million figure. Can we get an early life? Can we get an early life check on legal on?
Are on the hood. That is an insane number. That is a bizarre, unhinged number based on literally nothing. That infringement, like, cost him, actually damaged him $1 million, or that it would reach the statutory cap less than $1 million, and at most, right? Like, the statutory damages pertain to at most 2 infringements. There's one infringement of the content nuke, and then there's one related to a reaction video. So there's just like, there's no way, there's no plausible argument that Ethan Klein, I know that he might say it in his filings that he suffered billions of dollars of damage. That is so bizarre that you would promote that number. Denham's probably, what was her concurrent viewership there? Millions? Millions of dollars? Absolutely wild, absolutely insane that you would say this. This is not
even a statement that Ethan has made, right? This isn't even an exaggeration that Ethan has made. Maybe if Ethan had said it, and you were totally retarded, like clinically, you had like a mental issue, you could maybe say that, oh, well, you know, Ethan has said it. Maybe his lawyers know something that we don't, you know? They're going to slap down another cause of action halfway through the lawsuit, and they know that the judge is going to accept it. Maybe, possibly. I don't know why you'd go with that, though. Nobody's claiming this.
A case that's worth that much money. And again, even if you were to take the maximum of statutory damages, I mean, and again, so let's do statutory damages, copyright. It's a 17 USC section 504. The max when you show willful infringement is $150,000.
Ah, so that's what I was thinking. That's where I was getting the 30k from. Exception, the copyright owner may elect at any time before final judgment is ready to recover, instead of actual damages and profits, and award for statutory damages for an infringement involved in the action with respect to any one work for which any one infringer is liable individually. So for Frogan, for Denims, she isn't just being sued for the reaction to the content nuke, right? She's also being sued for the reaction to the podcast as well. So take this, times it by 2, yeah. Or for which any 2 or more infringers are liable jointly and separately, and severally. Severely? Severally. Jointly and severally. I guess jointly and individually. Legalese. In a sum of not less than $750 or more than 30,000 as the court considers just. For the purpose of the subsection brr, in the case where a copyright owner sustains the burden of proving and the court finds that infringement was committed willfully, the court, in its discretion, may award the award of statutory damages in sum of not more than 150,000, right? So I believe these are mutually exclusive, right? So you can't prove both of these and then bump it up to 180,000. I don't think, at least in the way it's written right now, right? But these are statutory damages. I believe also known as actual damages, right? So whatever's punitive is going to be on top of this.
And as far as I'm aware, the infringement, there's only 1 count of infringement. At most, I think 2. So even if you were to take the max for willful infringement for each one of those, you're below $1 million. And there's no actual plausible way that you're getting to millions of dollars of damage of liability. That is so bizarre. That is so wrong. Not true.
Right, if you look at scope of damages from all of these creators, leeching revenue, leeching potential sponsorships.
He says, potential sponsorships? Leeching potential sponsorships? by doing this reaction video? Millions of dollars? Absolutely unhinged, insane.
etc., taking his content wholesale, he's got massive liability. There's even potential punitive damages based on the intent. Right?
Punitive damages. No, so it's a willful infringement potentially that you can.
Wait. Punitive damages are not available for copyright infringement actions. See Leonard v. STEM Tech International Inc. And this is a case from, Jesus Christ, 2016. Bucklew versus Hawkins, that's 2003. Obler versus Golden, 1983. So this isn't like an incidental precedent. This has been upheld several times throughout the years, in several circuit courts.
Damages. No, so it's a willful infringement potentially that you can get additional damages there. And I will stake my credibility on this. If he ever recovers a judgment valued at over $800,000 with respect to every single one of these creators, I'll shave my head and eyebrows. I'll shave everything. Okay? He is not going to recover that much in a judgment. No way, no how, or a settlement. No way, no how.
Right, based on the fact that these people had malicious intent to steal his content.
Ethan.
And again, the malicious intent, we've talked about this before, but he is not at all providing citations for why this is relevant to infringement, why this is relevant to findings for fair use, not actually pointing to that. I think that it's not super relevant at all. Certainly not to the fair use analysis. That subjective mindset is relevant there. As to damages, I can imagine a court, takes into account a lot of things when it comes to damages. But again, even if you show willfulness, which is different from maliciousness and malice in the context of statutory damages, we're talking about a max here of $150,000 per infringement. So we're not getting into the millions. That's insane.
Has to live stream to.
This is so this is an aspect that I believe I was initially confused over, right? When I initially covered the H3 lawsuit, I thought there was some kind of realm for malicious damages, or for like a consideration of the maliciousness. Even if you take Ethan his word, right? Even if you take every single allegation made in his lawsuit as true, does that add to more? Is that a different case? Is that like a weightier consideration? After speaking to JStorg, and I think he gets his rationale from Pisco, no. It only matters about what is actually happening in the market. It's strict liability. Maliciousness doesn't really enter into it.
The trial.
And it seems that I'm surprised to hear that punitive damages aren't even a thing. But, okay.
Has to, bro. Like, please.
So
he shouldn't take it to trial, and the reason is, if what he cares about is making money, his litigation expenses are going to be more than the value of what he's going to get here. He's going to incur more in litigation expenses. I have no. Maybe there is a potential for fee shifting. That's possible. You can get some fee shifted provisions.
In any civil action under this title, the court, in its discretion, may allow the recovery of full costs by or against any party other than the United States or its officers thereof, except as otherwise provided by this title. I guess, and so this is about attorney's fees, right?
So maybe you get your attorney's fees paid, but I really don't think it makes much sense for you to take this to trial if what you.
Wait, hold on.
But I really don't.
So Supreme Court of the United States decision, unanimous decision. Okay. When deciding whether to grant attorney's fees under Section 505 of the Copyright Act, courts should give substantial weight to the objective reasonableness of the losing party's position, but that determination should not be the controlling factor. Justice Elena Kagan delivered the opinion for the unanimous court, which held that while the objective reasonableness of the losing party's position should be given substantial weight, the court retained discretion to consider that fact in light of other relevant considerations. While the language of Section 505 clearly grants a court discretion in awarding attorney's fees, the Supreme Court had created some restrictions that advance the overall goals of the Copyright Act to encourage creation while allowing others to build on previous work. Right. Oh, okay. Just in my subjective opinion, completely layman, obviously, I don't know how broaching reacting to video essay content as a live streamer or in a live stream format wouldn't be like a weighty consideration in terms of not wanting to hurt other creative work. That is exactly what it is designed for. If the carve out for this is to encourage creation while allowing others to build on previous work, I don't know how that wouldn't enter into it, or be an extremely strong argument that you shouldn't award attorney's fees as well.
I don't think it makes much sense for you to take this to trial if what you care about is making money.
At that, we had Reddit mods that were in this case, right? Because we obviously know Casey Tron, Denham's, Frogan, all of these cast of characters are live.
Jesus. He sees the picture of these people and he's like, Jesus.
But the Reddit mods are a big part of this. This is, by the way, totally not AI and totally an accurate photo.
Yeah.
Of a Reddit moderator. I think it's very much real to life. But the Reddit moderator.
I love how he says, yeah, when I'm not going to say it, but look at the surroundings here.
Moderators were hoping to hide. They were hoping to cower
Completely real, guys.
Behind their internet anonymity, right? They have power in the fact that they are anonymous and that nobody knows them and they can reach out and
people that think that they're anonymous on the internet are so stupid. If you have a digital footprint and you're making accounts everywhere, if you think that they can't find you, you're a moron.
Say things and do whatever. But now they're being exposed. Now they're being called out, and they are terrified. They're absolutely scared that they're going to be exposed in this, and they filed a motion of 700 pages trying to hide from responsibility. Well, that's not going to happen. Their identity is going to come out. And one thing that's been coming out is who these people are exactly. And the big news is that beyond all comprehension, we now have proof that
beyond all comprehension. I don't even know what that means. Beyond all comprehension? So this proof, I take that to mean, is really, really good. It's beyond all comprehension. I can't comprehend it, how much it's proved. Of course you don't know what it means. You can't comprehend it. It's divine. All right, so this is beyond all comprehension. So the proof of this must be really, 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 really good for whatever this is, and it must have massive significance, okay?
Reddit
criticizes Asmongold for overplaying it, by the way. Just
all comprehensively. And the big news is that beyond all comprehension, we now have proof that Reddit is directly tied to these moderators, which are going to be sued. So let's go into.
So what does that even mean? They're directly tied to the moderators? Well, I imagine they're moderators on Reddit. So in some sense, I suppose they're tied. But what do you mean by that? And he'll get into it a little bit. But I just want to be clear. They're tied to Reddit. Yeah, I mean, they're mods on the website Reddit. But what he's trying to prove here is that one of the snark mods is a Reddit employee.
Here,
this is one of the times where all of the conspiracy Andes are vindicated. Everybody that said Reddit's out to
haven't seen anything. He hasn't seen anything yet. And he's like, they're all completely vindicated.
Get him, and it's actually Reddit doing this to him, and it's not organic. The conspiracy Andes win again.
To this.
Wow.
So these are screenshots that were forwarded to me. Now you have one of these individuals here,
It is really odd to consider as well that when you look at this Asmongold reaction and what Asmongold says, conspiracies about Reddit being against Ethan Klein in terms of their moderation decisions on the subreddit or on the moderation decisions on the website in terms of shutting down certain subs, whatever the fuck. The only reason Asmongold would have never said this, Legal Mindset would have never made this video. Asmongold would have never done this reaction. He would have never said this if it hadn't been an entire coalition of content creators who all hate Hasan. It is so odd. It is so bizarre. It's so weird that Hasan hate goes so deep with these people that they'll talk about like irrelevant stuff and say the most stupid stuff about it because they're all on the same page. They're all on the same team. And they're all against Hasan. And so they'll say the most ridiculous stuff about Reddit's decisions regarding Ethan Klein.
of these mods, nicknamed Roman P, who's listed in the lawsuit, right? So we're going to look at these text messages or these screenshots, which were sent over to me before they were deleted, right? Because once again, they were going back and deleting and sweeping these things up. But now we've got conclusive proof here that kind of nails them in here. So them saying, so he thinks he could sue Asmon and XQC, but he doesn't want to sue them. Why? Surely the reaction videos stole more views from him. Is this kind of admission he doesn't care about any potential financial damage, only about his personal beef? And then some.
What I find to be so funny about this.
But that is true. That is 100% true. The fact that we have XQC and Asmongold who have deeper pockets and arguably much more infringing reactions, that is to say, better cases against them. And I would stand by that with respect to the Denims comparison. And he hasn't gone after them means it's not about financial compensation. And that's why he has to give this like bizarre and ultimately what I think is a lie that he is doing this to protect the React community from Sony and Disney. Because he should just come out and say, I'm doing this because of malice. And you can imply that by what he says, but he also adds this whole thing about it's the React community. He starts his video that way too. So just don't let anyone gaslight you that the reason why H3 is doing this has nothing to do with protecting the React community.
Is that, number one, the entire lawsuit hinged on the fact that these three individuals openly stated that they were doing it in order to make it a market replacement for the product.
That has nothing to do with the legal analysis of fair use. And there's no indication whatsoever that any ruling on fair use that would come down from a court in California would turn on the subjective motivations of an individual. There's not any case law that you can cite that subjective intent is important to this market substitution analysis. And there's no evidence that it's important to factor one either, because the Supreme Court, as recent as I think last year in the Warhol case, said that subjective intent does not matter for factor number one. The nature of the copyrighted work doesn't get into subjective intent at all. It's whether it's like creative or factual, and the amount and substantiality, again, is another objective analysis. So there's no indication that one's case turns on whether or not you have subjectively bad motive or not. And it's not predictive in the slightest, even before the Warhol case. And the Warhol case had put to bed the notion that subjective intent matters. It's an
Yeah, so I said earlier, sorry, I had to go like for 2 seconds, all right? I said this earlier that I'd been completely wrong about this point. I mean, just as a layman talking about it, right? However, I don't know, and Pisco seems to agree. I'm not really sure what people's opinions are on this. Possibly because this is a boring conversation that essentially people are only going to like have or justify or point out or kind of base on their personal biases, right? Which side they believe they are personally on. I feel as though if you are talking about the three lawsuits and you're lumping them all together and talking about how like legally kind of verified they are or how legally like strong they are, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work at all. Denim said that people were glad that they could watch it through her, so they didn't have to give Ethan the view. I believe that was in response to a single super chat or a single dono that she got on Twitch. That's what prompted her to say that, because somebody said, "I'm so glad that I can watch it through you instead of Ethan Klein or whatever." Does that even prove that that was her statement going into it? That was a donation that she got at the end. That was a donation that she got after she'd watched to it. Mockery is a reason for fair use. I mean, it is. It is. However, if she's making a 4-hour reaction to an original video that is less than 2 hours, it's kind of GG, isn't it? It's kind of GG. And you might say it's malicious. You might say that Denims hates Ethan Klein. It doesn't seem as though that even weighs into the court decision at all. It doesn't even weigh into the factors at all. The Sargon case established Denims free use. Oh, not necessarily. There's a lot of difficulties there. Maybe you could describe exactly what. This is new territory, and this is why the question on the environment of live streaming is like so critical. This is a new question that like the legal system is being asked. Whatever this decision is, positive or negative, is gonna set precedent because it's gonna be the first decision of its kind. The Sargon case was over a clip compilation that Sargon had made, and a caption that he'd add to it, right? The Denims case is on a live stream reaction where she reacted to it in full, right? She more than doubled the runtime. Is that enough? It's reacting to something live, in full, even allowed. Is that even allowed, right? That would be the question with Denims. With Casey Tron or with Frogan, it's hard to say, because, like, it's very, very hard to find her reaction. With Casey Tron, I mean, it doesn't seem as though she's given any meaningful reaction. I think a lot of people have just kind of, like, kind of admitted, yeah, Casey Tron might be fucked. Casey Tron might have fucked herself. Yeah, it's difficult to really say. Obviously, in terms of, like, the environment question, in terms of the ecosystem of, like, live stream reaction content, I think it is still worth defending Casey Tron, and especially in terms of, like, the morality, it's still worth defending Casey Tron. Drop in like a legal notice on somebody over something like this is insane, especially when you've still got all the DMCA tools at your fingertips, and you've chosen to go around those, not even engage with them before you want to start, like, drop a lawsuit on somebody. It is insane. But on the legal aspect, okay, it's a little bit more questionable.
Andy Warhol case. It's about whether a particular infringing work constitutes fair use because of what was in.
Frogan. Wait, what? Frogan, you can use the lawsuit for a general runtime. So I can use the lawsuit for a general runtime, but much of the video is 2x speed. Wait. Okay, I think you mistyped that. Frogan used the lawsuit. What? Okay.
Intended as the design. And what Sotomayor says in the majority there is, it doesn't matter what your subjective intent is.
He had put into the space. He had already, like, this is an,
in sum, subjective intent is not important here. The infringement itself is strict liability.
Simultaneous rebroadcast is the only interesting question. That's wrong. That's wrong. There are a lot of interesting questions here. It just depends how interested you are in, I guess, like, the copyright law. That's gonna affect, like, all live streams going forward. Yeah, that's the interesting point.
Which means it doesn't matter whether you have intent or not with respect to infringement itself. So the underlying legal wrong, infringement, is strict liability. And for the fair use analysis, factor 1 is not.
Oh, right. So for Frogan, you can use the lawsuit for a general idea of the runtime, right? But much of the H3 video is 2x speeded in her reaction. How does that even play into it legally? That is a modification, a meaningful modification, right? Watching a video on 1x speed versus 2x speed, that harms the ability for it to even serve as a market substitute, right, of the original. Possibly aids in it being even more transformative, because then the focus of the content is on your subjective commentary. But yeah,
subjective.
The other stuff has been decided. It just hasn't. Whether you can watch a video on a live stream and watch it in full, even if it's like a year old, has never been decided. No.
It's an objective test, not subjective. It's not mind dependent. That's what I mean by subjective here. Factor 2 is not subjective. It's also about the nature of the work, right? So first is purpose and character of the use. So that is objective analysis. That's what we find out from Warhol. Factor 2, nature of the copyrighted work. That is objective, not subjective. It turns on whether the work is, like, factual, released yet, whether it's creative, etc. It's not a favored factor anyway, but to the extent that it is an objective analysis. Factor 3 is the amount and substantiality of the work that's used. Again, objective analysis, not about how much you intended to use. It's about how much you used and what you used. And factor 4 is whether it's a market substitute. Again, not subjective. It's objective. So summing statement here is subjective motivation, not important.
You live in.
The 4 factors are well established. Well, the 4 factors were well established as soon as the statute was written. Yeah. So in terms of, like, when we're talking about the law and developments of the law and precedents that are set and case law, the entire time, you are right. The statute has been well established. Yeah, that's, of course. It's like trying to talk about how precedent is going to change the adaptation of like some particular bill. It's like, well, you know, the bill's been around for like 30 years. The text of it has been the same the entire time. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. That you can a pirate theater with 2x movies. No, so obviously you can't. But when we're talking about copyright, we're talking about like factors that build towards, is this fair use? Is this infringing? Right? Is this legitimately transforming the content? So no. If you just play it at like 2x speed with nothing else, yeah, that probably won't. People get wrapped up all the time in terms of like movies versus like TV shows versus music versus like images. Don't forget, they can also be consideration of DMCA versus like other things. And I think a lot of the time when people are talking about that, it's 100% intuition pumping. 100% intuition pumping. So, for example, in terms of paywalled content, there might be an argument there that it can cause a market substitute effect, right? You have to argue the effect over whether or not it's going to be transformed enough to be able to be like, you know, kind of reasonably like transforming the content, right? Whether you've added enough commentary, whether, you know, anything else. But it doesn't innately, in and of itself, mean that you are giga rape for DMCA. That's not true. You're not automatically violating the DMCA just because it's content you would have to pay to see. Don't forget, the DMCA is written with the idea that it's going to be copyrighted works, and was written at a time when it wasn't this whole YouTubers would make videos and other YouTubers would make videos responding to them in like a gameplay commentary community, or an environment where you've got like live streamers reacting to videos. That wasn't part of it. That wasn't part of it when the DMCA was written. The DMCA wasn't written with that in mind. The DMCA was written with copyrighted materials that you would have to pay to see in mind. Movies, at a time we'd have to buy them on DVD, rent them, or you'd have to go to the movie theater and see them, right? It was written with the idea that you would have to pay to see this content otherwise, but no.
In reality, you are...
So, in summation, right, just because it is a movie, don't let the fact that it's owned by Disney, don't let the fact that it's owned by Universal Media Group or whatever, like, belie the legal factors. It doesn't weigh into the law at all. It doesn't change the law at all. All you're talking about there is like, well, how's it going to play out in a courtroom? These guys have got so much money. These guys have got so much experience. It doesn't change the legal analysis.
Already know this. So that's clearly what the main difference is.
And by the way, we would totally crush any one of these fools if they were brave enough to have a conversation about it. Including Legal Mindset, including Ethan Klein, I offered, including Dan Saltman, including Asmongold. These guys are cowards. They would never actually have a conversation with me about it because they would get crushed.
And he even stated
and Legal Mindset knows who I am, by the way. I saw someone reply to my tweet, and they're like, they don't know who you are, little bro. They know they've talked about me.
It's with Pisco, who's a lawyer. I don't know. But someone brought up, I think there's, someone brought up someone who was defending the orbiters, but the only defense I've heard of the orbiters, and there's one, there's one minor character. I'm not even going to say his name. The chat knows, but I'm not even going to say this guy's name.
Ladyboy Mindset talking about minor characters. Oh no! Dude. Don't forget, that's the goal content. We're going to go over some of his deleted Goe's videos. If we hit the goal. Which reminds me, okay? We've got 97 people watching right now. We've got 39 likes. I'd hugely appreciate it if you'd move your finger over, move your cursor over, and hit the like button. Costs nothing. It costs nothing for you, and it does a great deal of benefit for the stream. Hugely benefits me, okay? So I'd hugely appreciate it. If you want to go one step further, you can. You can send a super sticker, super chat. You can subscribe to the channel if you're new, okay? You can buy a membership. You can gift a membership. There are so many ways. I make it so easy, okay? Hugely appreciate all the support I get. Obviously, wouldn't be able to do this without generous donations, generous support, and I appreciate it very, very much. Anyway, let's get back to it. I hate doing shills. It's so uncomfortable. All right. I need to work on a script. I need to work on like typing down a script that I can just like read off without even having to like think about it. Even better, if I can just like open Windows Media Player and just like get a clip of me already shilling, that would be even better. That would be even better.
And he did not actually say they were going to win on the merits, from what I heard. All he said
was the system was broken and it's a systemic problem and it's not fair that people with a lot of money win. That's not saying they're going to win on the merits. So he did not say that they're going to win in court. What he said was the system's not fair.
And so has this other guy that we'll look at in a second.
In the beginning and throughout it multiple times.
I do remember Legal Mindset saying that. I had no idea that that was in reference to Pisco, though.
Yes, and also, and let's assume that's not true. These people are so consumed by like Reddit morality and Reddit logic that they think because he's hypocritical, he can't file a lawsuit.
No, I mean, that's not what they're saying. They're just saying that Ethan is lying about the purpose here. That's what they're saying. I don't think anyone is saying, well, you can't file a lawsuit if you're a hypocrite. They're just calling him out for hypocrisy. Reddit morality. How about like, yeah, don't lie. This guy's such a clown. How does he have a following?
Can you fucking believe that? They're so delusional. They're like, well, we found a flaw in your logic and you're not doing it to them, but you're doing it to these guys, as if somehow that makes the legal case not exist. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous.
I mean, dude, what an awful fucking frame to pause on. I mean, yeah, that is essentially the depth of Asmongold's analysis a lot of the time. Just completely misunderstanding it, as if you can point out an hypocrisy and that makes the legal case not exist. Was that his exact words?
And you're not doing it to them, but you're doing it to these guys, as if somehow that makes the legal case not exist. It's outrageous.
Like, dude, I don't know. I don't know. You just got to imagine if it was happening to them or happening to somebody they care about. If this was happening currently to Billy Mitchell, if this was happening currently to who's generally well liked, Asmongold. If this was happening to Asmongold, what would people's response be? It would be the flip reverse. It would be the exact opposite. And it's like, I don't know, it's gay to fucking talk about, but it's like, these are people who are, at the end of the day, like small creators. Not for lack of trying, okay? These are shitter, gutter tier creators. Worse than me in some cases, okay? Frogan, Casey Tron, these are not people in great financial situations, and it's essentially just like a gladiatorial match where you're watching this like wealthy like millionaire beat up on these like utterly wretched, obese figures. Oh my god. Frogan got a clear addiction to attention. Casey Tron got a clear addiction to, well, fucking bongs. It could not get more wretched.
It's outrageous. He's just totally misconstruing what people are saying. People like me, for example, who I think I've been one of the iconoclasts in this discussion, because everyone seems to just want to, like, I don't know, for some reason, just say Ethan Klein is the perfect lawsuit. It's the greatest thing ever. It's so late epic. But what I've said is it's a strong case of infringement, but he's lying when he says it's to defend the React community. So you can have that take, and many people do.
They think they're in a video. They think they're having a
They
debate.
think they're in a video game when they say consistent standards. So why should people not have to hold others to their statements? Why should we care if people are lying?
It's Reddit logic. It's just Reddit logic. That's it.
Reddit logic is holding people to their statements, holding creators accountable for not lying. That's Reddit logic. I mean, these guys live in post-truth. They don't give a shit about the truth. They don't have any standards whatsoever. They're dumb as rocks. So yeah, maybe that is a standard.
Runs on emotion, not facts. I agree.
Someone responds, did you know
Some
you're
people
mentioned
do.
in the lawsuit? Just clicked on the first one, skimmed around it, and saw Roman P. So this moderator, this is the head moderator of this subreddit, is named. And they go, oh my God, thank you for telling me. This is the funniest shit ever. I can't believe this. Well, guess what?
Guess what?
Guess what?
What?
It's not going to be funny for them for very long. It's funny for me. It's hilarious for me.
It's funny for me
Then
too.
you've got them over here saying, I can't believe you're outing yourself like this. Classic mistake of criminals returning to the scene of the crime. So, you know, Roman P says, cat's out of the bag. Now the real fun begins. So they're pretending they're going to have fun here now that they're named in this lawsuit. This is going to be fun for them. Certainly this is not going to be fun. We're going to see why. Next.
Again, what have these people done? These people are moderators on a subreddit that have just said, oh, if you don't want to watch Ethan Klein's reaction to this content, you can go and watch other people's reactions to it. If you don't want to give the view to Ethan, give the view to somebody else. And now they're getting, what, doxed? Their location or their identity is getting revealed. Possibly their address as well, if they're receiving legal filings, right? They're now party to like to a lawsuit. They're going to get sued. Their identities are going to get revealed. Essentially doxed, right? Essentially doxed. And for what? For what? For moderating on a subreddit that shit talks you. And that somebody wrote a piece up where you could look at other people who had reacted to the content. It just... If they were really worried about, like, giving a market replacement rather than, like, alternative commentary to creators that they like, why would they not link to the XQC video? Or even, why not upload it to, like, RooTube or Dailymotion or, you know, some of these other websites that are a lot easier, like, harder to track down because these places don't get as many views. Why not just link to that instead? It's obviously because these people had already made content. These people had already reacted to it, and they gave some sort of enough response that it stayed up on YouTube. There's no reason to otherwise. Without this aspect of the case, Ethan Klein has got no argument that this was being perceived as a market replacement. He's got no argument that this is being, what, I guess like a post hoc rationalized, oh, they were intending to make a market replacement for my content at the time. Check DMs? Okay. It's just, without that, I think a lot of the case falls flat. It seems like, at least. From reading the lawsuit, from seeing people talk about it.